and grow their businesses. PIN supports the international expansion and business growth plans of more than 350 female-owned businesses in Nigeria, the UK, the US, and Canada. Comfort Sakoma also helps emerging African brands expand across Africa and globally through Poise Capital Global, a full-service export marketing agency with a vision to make Africa's percentage of global trade equal to its percentage of the total population. Comfort has formed strategic partnerships and collaborations with several corporations, including Google, Intel, IBM, Facebook, Air France, and the US State Department, and she's won several awards. She's also a mentor at the Cherie Blair Foundation for Women and a partner with the African Entrepreneurship Award by BMC Bank of Africa. Oh my goodness. With accolades like that, how excited are you to meet her? Good morning, Comfort.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Wonderful.
How are you?
I'm very, very good. Thank you for having me.
How is it possible for a person to achieve all of that?
I have no idea. You just pretend there aren't 24 hours and you keep it moving.
I mean, literally. You know what they say about Beyonce having the same amount of time
Absolutely,
a day as
absolutely.
else? You clearly have managed to achieve the level of Beyonce.
I appreciate that. I'm still pushing.
You're doing amazingly.
Thank you, I
It's
appreciate
phenomenal.
that.
Now, before we get into what you're doing with Poise Insider Network, we have to talk about the fact that you used to be in the US Navy Cadets.
Canadian.
With the Canadian Navy Cadets.
Yes.
What?
Yes, yes,
Tell me about that experience.
So my parents thought that it would be a great idea to have me be part of a very disciplined organization. And so they enrolled me for the Royal Canadian Navy Cadets. And I was a member of the Navy Cadets for 2.5 years. I, in that time, was one of the top shooters in the cadets, which was a lot of fun. We went out to sea, so lots of great experience there. You know, it really was helpful for me, obviously, because I learned a lot about just discipline and teamwork and, you know, working with people to achieve goals. And so for me, it really was an opportunity to learn about the importance of working together as a team and making things happen. I also, during that time, had a lot of fun because I was also a competitive swimmer. Obviously, I haven't swam I haven't swam competitively in a long time, but definitely not to say that it won't happen very soon. But I definitely am a lover of water and all things.
A lover of water?
Absolutely.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you sound like you gained a lot of disciplinary experience from the cadets.
Sure, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay, so moving on to Poise Insider Network.
Yes.
What exactly is it and how did you start it?
Fantastic. So I'll start with the second question first.
Okay.
We started the Poise Insider Network as an accident, actually. The initial plan was, or what we started with initially, was a magazine called Poise. Okay. And the idea behind the magazine was to showcase and celebrate the accomplishments of women entrepreneurs across Africa, as well as women in leadership, so corporate women and women in politics. And while we still have a vision to do that in a very different type of way, what I discovered in that time was that there was a really large gap in entrepreneurial experience and entrepreneurial expertise. And so we began sort of putting together small trainings. Our first one was in partnership with Google on May 8th, Women's International Day, 2016.
Oh, wow.
And I approached them to ask if they'd be willing to put together a digital literacy workshop, a 2-day workshop. And that 2-day workshop turned into more than 40 other workshops. We toured the nation and trained women all over. And then we started adding other trainings like accounting and financial management, and we partnered with Intel and did some work with them. So what I realized was that there was a really big gap in terms of entrepreneurial knowledge, and we sought to fill that gap. Poise Insider Network started when I would contribute nuggets of wisdom during the workshops, and women would really, you know, after the workshops, come to me for additional advice and support. And I thought, well, why don't we just, you know, charge a small membership fee and then they'll have access to me throughout the year. So my initial target was, let's get 50 people. And a year and a half later, we're at about 350 plus strong. Wow. Nationwide.
And you were supporting female-owned businesses around the world.
Absolutely.
What made you want to empower women?
So, you know, someone once asked me, what's the difference between women entrepreneurs and men?
Exactly.
And at first, I couldn't answer that question, but I found the answer about probably a year ago. And the difference is this. Women tend to start their businesses there's three key differences. The first is that women tend to start their businesses later on in life than men. So the average male entrepreneur is starting at about 17, 18,
right,
whereas a woman is starting at about 24, 25.
Right.
At that period in her life, she's less of a risk taker than a man at 17. And so she goes into industries that have lower barriers to entry, but also much lower potential for growth. And because women often struggle with access to formal capital, they tend to use their own savings to start their businesses. And as a result, they tend to hire people from their families and are not able to benefit from proper management structures.
Right.
And women, more often than men, do not write business plans or have any formal sort of plan for what their businesses will look like. And so these are differences in entrepreneurial experience and management styles, which ultimately have a larger impact on the types of businesses that women run. Whereas men tend to form partnerships more easily, women are far less trusting. And so it is important, I think, to provide information and expertise specific to those challenges, and to provide a space where women feel like they can learn from one another also, because they're all experts in what they do, and to be able to share their own experiences and to grow from each other.
Why do you think that women are starting businesses later on in life than men, though?
A lot of it has to do with family. A lot of it has to do with the fact that corporate Nigeria, corporate everything, isn't really designed for women who are mothers of young children, or women who are, needing to cater to family at home. And so they find themselves often mid-career in a tangle, because they have to decide, well, am I going to prioritize career or family? And more times than not, I think they make a great decision to prioritize family. It's unfortunate that that decision has to come at the cost of their careers. And so what you find is that entrepreneurship becomes an alternative way for them to still channel, their energy, the creative energies towards something. But I think that corporate Nigeria is really missing out on innovation. They're really missing out on great ideas because they are neglecting to include people at their prime.
Absolutely.
Now,
your slogan is entrepreneurship beyond survival.
Absolutely.
I find that so interesting. Can you explain to me what that means?
It literally took me 2.5 years to come up with that slogan.
Wow.
Absolutely. And I always tell people, your slogan is not something that you're just going to come up with overnight. It's really something that you have to understand. I knew that I wanted it to be 3 words. And I knew that I wanted it to sort of explain.
Why 3 words?
Because more than 3 words people forget. 3 words is pretty much where 3 things.
Nice and catchy.
Absolutely, the Holy Trinity. 3 things are what the human brain technically remembers most and best. So I knew I wanted it to be 3. That to me represents completion. And when I think about entrepreneurship in Africa, one of the distinct factors about it is that most entrepreneurs are just doing business to get through the next day. Most entrepreneurs are in business just to pay school fees, to pay for rent, to buy food. We're not thinking about entrepreneurship beyond immediate survival. And my goal is not to give you a quick fix. I'm not here to tell you how to find 1,000 followers on Instagram. I'm not interested in telling you,
That is what people want nowadays, though.
Well, lots of people providing it. Lots of people providing it. My interest is really in building global African brands.
That's amazing.
And there's no quick fix for that. A lot of the businesses that have recently been invested in, I'm talking millions of dollars in foreign investment, have less than 2,000-3,000 followers on Instagram, but they've got $2-3 million in the bank. And that's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in 50,000 followers and no money. So one of the things that
Can't take followers to the bank.
You can't take them to the bank, and most don't, unfortunately.
Exactly.
One of the things that a trend that I find very disturbing in Nigeria right now is that likes have become the new currency. People are bartering their products and services for likes.
Interesting.
And I think that this is a trend.
Do you not think that that has any marketing value at all, though?
Well, according to Jonah Berger, who's the author of a book called Contagious, which is one of my favorite books on marketing, less than 7% of all of your social media followership will ever buy from you.
Wow.
And when you think about it,
that's not even a standard conversion rate, because typically it's 9 to 11%.
Absolutely, but social media has an ROI of less than 7%.
Wow.
So when you take a look at someone with 100,000 followers, you'd be hard-pressed to find 7,000 buyers from that
part
person.
with their money.
Absolutely. And so social media has its value. It's great for brand recognition and so on. But we've become what I think are lazy entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And we have forgotten that 93% of your business or 93% of the opportunity you're currently missing is offline.
Yeah.
And so people need to engage there too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of offline businesses, I'll read this because I want to ensure that I get the facts correct.
All right.
So you've worked with governments,
I
right?
have.
As opposed to just women. You're building 350 women worldwide, 350 businesses, female-owned businesses worldwide. But let's focus on the governmental work that you do. Now, you drafted a plan for Niger State, on how women could be better integrated into the agriculture value chain.
Yes.
And then you helped the state win 9 billion naira in investment and forged a path for the state to become sister states with the state of Illinois.
Absolutely.
What? How did you do this? You're amazing.
I appreciate that.
Wow.
I was called by the past governor, Talba Babangida Aliyu. I got a call in the morning, that very morning, and he said to me, we have to make a presentation at Central Bank, and we need to talk about agriculture, and I think you're the person to do it. So I literally had 2 hours to get together a presentation, to get into the bank and to explain, in essence, how Niger State could improve its rice supply. Now, it's good to know that Niger State alone could grow 3/4 of all the rice grown in Thailand.
Wow.
So in terms of arable land, in terms of land available for farming.
Can we just focus on that statistic you gave us for a second? Because we eat Thai rice. We
do.
believe that Thailand are one of the biggest manufacturers of rice in the world. And you were telling us that Niger State can produce 3/4 of all of Thai's.
Absolutely.
Wow.
A state alone.
Wow.
I mean, Niger State as a specific state is just so endowed. Many of our states are. You know, Niger State is home to 54% of the world's shea trees. And yet the majority of the shea in the world is bought from Ghana because we don't allow our shea nuts to fully harvest. And so Nigeria doesn't really produce A grade, because shea is graded A, B, and C.
Right.
And for consumables and for cosmetics, it needs to be A or B.
Right.
But because we shake the shea nut off the tree and don't allow it to drop naturally, it automatically degrades in grade. And that affects our export potential. We also have a lot of shea that's stolen and taken across borders. And so I've been working a lot with different states on projects around agriculture and energy. I just finished a co-authored report for GIZ on renewable energy, mobilizing private capital. That's probably the next space I want to go into.
Oh, amazing.
Really
renewable energy.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about Akon for a little bit. What do you think of what he's doing with Lighting Africa?
I'm so impressed. I was actually just talking about him 2 days ago. His goal, 600,000, I think, homes. I think he's going to be a trillionaire off of that. I think that he's focused on the right thing. Look, people are surprised to find out that less than 40% of all of Nigeria is actually on a grid.
Wow.
We're not talking about people with light.
That's a terrible
60% of the country has no access to the national grid.
No access to the national grid. Not that they are not on it. Not that it is not functioning.
No access
to it.
Absolutely.
What does that mean?
It means that they have not seen light for 30, 40 years. And that majority of the states that are affected by this are northern Nigeria.
Wow.
So when you talk about the fact that 60% of the country has not seen light in 2-3 decades, and for those of us who are on the grid, we only get about 40% of its operational capacity. It really, I think, showcases the importance of off-grid. And I'm really happy that the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, has recently made it a lot easier for you and I, actually, to provide off-grid lighting. So they now have permits and licenses that you just go online and fill an application and you can get a license. And I encourage everybody, no matter what you're in business, makeup artists, everybody, get a license. We all have the potential to generate renewable energy, and that's something that I really want to engage with further because it's so necessary.
Oh my goodness, she was so inspirational. I'm like, there's so much to learn, so much to discuss, but we have run out of time, unfortunately, for this segment. I will, however, see you later on in the show because we're going to be discussing further marketing tactics and different sorts of different business models that one can employ.
Fantastic.
But before we go, for those women that are interested in joining the Poise Insider Network, how can they get a hold of you via social media?
The best way is probably via Instagram. We're Poise, which is P-O-I-Z-E or P-O-I-Z-E for our Americans. It's Poise with a Z, poiseinsider.com or just Poise Insider on Instagram, send us a DM and we'll respond and help you get set up.
Amazing. I'm gonna speak to you later.
Alrighty,
we're gonna get me set up with the business. I don't know what it is yet, but we're gonna find it.
We'll figure it out. Thank you so much.
It's time now for a short break on the morning show, but stay tuned because when I return, I'll be speaking with the managing consultant of Franchise Business Development Services. Don't go away.